Welcome back to Hardware Unboxed. Today, Nvidia have announced two new GPUs that are slotting into their existing RTX 30 series, the GeForce RTX 3080 Ti and the GeForce RTX 3070 Ti, and we have some thoughts to share on what these cards are set to bring, along with all the specs and performance data provided by Nvidia ahead of reviews in the coming weeks. Now, this particular launch, I'll be perfectly honest, is not very exciting. Why is that? Well, that's down to the current market situation, where it doesn't really matter what GPUs are launched because we all know that you won't be able to buy them anytime soon. To make matters worse, right now there are currently two major ways that GPU manufacturers can improve the situation for everyone. One is to make graphics cards more affordable, and the primary way this is done in the current market is to release new, lower tier cards that occupy the mid-range and entry-level spots in the market. These sorts of products should be easier to produce thanks to smaller GPU dies, meaning more GPUs per wafer from Samsung's factory, and that overall will mean that it's cheaper for consumers. The second way is simply to produce more of the products that are already announced and on the market. There are long queues of people waiting to purchase an RTX 3070 or RTX 3080, some still waiting since launch day, so having additional supply to satisfy those customers would be very welcome. After all, you should probably strive to meet existing demand before launching new products. What Nvidia are announcing today addresses precisely zero of these concerns. The RTX 3080 Ti and RTX 3070 Ti are not cheaper GPUs in a lower tier of the market. Instead, they are more expensive variants of existing cards. These products aren't making GPUs more affordable, they aren't going to be easier to produce, and won't help alleviate supply concerns. These new GPUs also make everything worse for buyers after cards that are already launched. The RTX 3070 Ti uses the same GPU die as the RTX 3070, and the RTX 3080 Ti uses the same die as the RTX 3080 and RTX 3090. If a die is unable to be made into an RTX 3090, for example, Nvidia now has the opportunity to sell you an RTX 3080 Ti at a much higher price than the RTX 3080 they already launched, which otherwise that die would need to become. Likewise, for the RTX 3070 Ti, these are dies that could be RTX 3070s, but instead of Nvidia selling it to all the people that already want an RTX 3070, they're going, nah, we'll just sell that to you at a higher price as a different product. So with this launch, what Nvidia are doing is instead of supplying what should be great value GPUs when available at MSRP to those that desperately want them and have wanted them for months, they are instead diverting some supply to new higher priced variants. This makes perfect sense from a business perspective. Nvidia are now getting more money from each GPU they ship, but it's a big kick in the face to customers who haven't been able to buy products that Nvidia already launched 6 months ago. This is a sentiment that we've seen a lot from commenters across GPU launches in the past few months. Why are new products being launched when they can't even make enough existing products? On this occasion, you can't argue with that. It's a 100% fair point, and one that Nvidia probably doesn't want you to think about. What they want to tell you is, oh, so you're interested in buying an RTX 3070? How about you spend more money on an RTX 3070 Ti instead? Now, this is in complete contrast to most GPU launches in a normal market. Once supply is plentiful, there is nothing wrong with introducing new variants that unlock new levels of performance at new price points. Consumers then have the ability to weigh up the value proposition and choose a product that best suits their needs and budget. But in a supply-constrained market, all these sorts of launches do is make graphics cards less accessible to all but the richest customers with the deepest pockets. And as a channel that is all about buying the best value products, that's certainly very disappointing to see. But enough of that, let's talk about the graphics cards that are being launched and what they bring to the table, starting with the RTX 3080 Ti. You can think of the 3080 Ti as a slightly cut down version of the RTX 3090. It packs GA102 silicon built on Samsung's 8nm process with 80 SMs, down from 82 with the RTX 3090, but much higher than the 68 you get with the RTX 3080. This means we'll see 10,240 CUDA cores, 320 tensor cores, and 80 RT cores, 18% more than in the RTX 3080, but just 2% less than the RTX 3070. Clock speeds are also quite similar for these GPUs. 1665 MHz is the rated boost for the 3080 Ti, so slightly lower than both the 3090 and 3080. However, the card's TDP is the same 350 watts that we see with the RTX 3090. So while there is this clock speed difference, having the same power target may see the 3080 Ti clock a bit closer to the 3090 in practice. While the core configuration and clock speeds are pretty similar between the 3090 and 3080 Ti, the big difference is in the memory layout. The 3080 Ti has half the amount of GDDR6 at 12GB, still on a 384-bit bus, but with the clock rate of the RTX 3080 at 19 gigabits per second, leading to slightly lower memory bandwidth than the 3090. This makes the 3080 Ti less suitable for some workstation applications that rely heavily on huge VRAM buffers, compared to, of course, the RTX 3090, but it is still going to be acceptable for gaming, at least today. The RTX 3080 Ti will be available on June 3rd, and you can expect to see reviews go live before the GPU goes on sale. Nvidia has set an MSRP of $1,200, which is what you'll see for the minuscule handful of Founders Edition models Nvidia will probably sell through their store. For the vast majority of GPUs actually available, this price is of course complete rubbish, with AIB set to mandate an MSRP for their variants starting well above $2,000, certainly very close to the RTX 3090, or basically just as high as they can possibly sell it for. As for performance comparisons, when viewing the specifications, you know the RTX 3080 Ti is pretty likely to perform very similarly to the RTX 3090 given the specifications are so close. Nvidia claims performance is 1.5 times higher than the RTX 2080 Ti, which also would put it in the ballpark of the RTX 3090. Now this would make it better value than the RTX 3090 when comparing MSRPs, if only slightly, but still worse value than the RTX 3080, and of course actual pricing will make all that comparison a bit meaningless. As referenced earlier, the RTX 3080 Ti will have a Founders Edition model, which is very similar visually to the RTX 3080 variant, so you won't be getting the same massive triple slot cooler. It's unclear whether internally the RTX 3080 Ti cooler is different to handle its high TDP, but the 3080 is already a 320 watt GPU, so the dual slot design should be sufficient, and reusing that cooler would make a lot of sense. Now for the GeForce RTX 3070 Ti, or should I say RTX 3070 Ti. This is a very minor spec increase over the RTX 3070 in terms of core configuration. Both are using a GA104 die, but as we know, the RTX 3070 is actually a slightly cut down variant of that die with 46 SMs enabled. The RTX 3070 Ti gives us the full die with 48 SMs for a total of 6,144 CUDA cores, 192 tensor cores, and 48 RT cores. That's just a 4% increase in CUDA cores over the RTX 3070 and at a similar boost clock speed. The rate of boost clock here is 1770 MHz. The bigger change comes in memory subsystem. The card still features 8GB of memory, but this time it's GDDR6X memory, not GDDR6, so we're getting higher bandwidth. 256-bit bus, we believe 19 gigabits per second memory, which totals 608 gigabytes per second of bandwidth, up 36% from what the RTX 3070 offered. That's a big uplift, but it's not clear whether the RTX 3070 Ti will be able to take full use of that bandwidth, given the comparatively smaller increase to the GPU core. The RTX 3070 Ti, or Ti, will go on sale on June 10th, again with reviews before they go on sale, with an MSRP of $599 US. Although, like we were just talking about in the RTX 3080 Ti section, this MSRP is of course complete BS for the vast majority of AIB cards, which will instead likely be priced probably at least double this, if not higher, given the current market. It was a bit of a surprise that Nvidia even mentioned these MSRPs, as I don't think there is a single person watching the announcement that actually believes the price shown is anywhere near what people, well, at least what most people will actually end up paying. Anyway, Nvidia did not give any performance data for the RTX 3070 Ti during the keynote, totally glossing over this. However, later in a press release, they said the 3070 Ti should be 1.5 times faster than the RTX 2070 Super, with no comparisons made to the RTX 3070, so we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Both the 3080 Ti and 3070 Ti come with Nvidia's LHR functionality enabled. In other words, they are light hash rate cards, which detect the Ethereum mining algorithm and halve hashing performance. This is a driver level limitation, and it's unknown how long the crypto mining limiter will remain intact. Last time Nvidia attempted this, they removed the limiter themselves through a driver they released, which they claim was an accident, so we'll see how long it takes for the limiter to be bypassed this time. We discussed our thoughts on Nvidia's LHR system in a recent Q&A episode if you want to hear more on it, but in general our audience appears to be in favor of it. Nvidia did spend some time announcing new RTX games like Rainbow Six Siege, which is getting DLSS support. a nice marketing bonus, but realistically this game already runs at hundreds of FPS on most Nvidia GPUs. The bigger news though is that Red Dead Redemption 2 is getting DLSS support, which will make a big difference for that game, and Doom Eternal will also be getting ray tracing and DLSS support. No firm word on release date for any of those things. There were a couple of other titles announced as well, but these are kind of the main announcements from today's keynote. So that's pretty much it from this announcement. Nvidia did spend some time in their presentation talking about all the usual RTX and DLSS features. They then went into a big section on AI, which I'm not even going to cover here, but we already know about all that stuff, so there's no point rehashing stuff that Nvidia has already announced over the last few years. As I talked about at the start, this is a pretty pointless launch that's largely a cash grab by Nvidia to sell the same GPUs they're already making, but just for now as much money as they possibly can, and I'm sure that won't impress a lot of you guys that are desperate for GPUs but can't buy one right now due to already insane pricing and low availability. So anyway, that's it for this look at Nvidia's keynote presentation. We also have stuff on AMD's presentation, which is already up on the channel if you want to learn more about things like Fidelity FX Super Resolution, new APUs for desktop, and also the 6000M series for laptops. In my opinion, it was perhaps the more exciting and interesting of the two keynotes that were covered at this particular Computex sort of live event type thing. Intel also had a keynote, but there was nothing I found particularly interesting to cover there, so I'm just not going to talk about that. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. If you're interested in supporting the channel, we've got our Patreon and Float Plan accounts. Links to those are in the description below, and I'll catch you in the next one.